Well, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday. It's good to virtually see you here tonight, and hopefully, you guys have had a good week so far. And beginning to the Christmas season, yesterday we got our Christmas tree up and decorated. We're still in the process of getting everything going, but Christmas cookies were baked, all sorts of some fun Christmas things going on. But hopefully, you guys are getting into that time of year. And I know for many of you, maybe it's a challenging time of year due to not just 2020 in general and the pandemic, things like that, but for many of you, this may be a first Christmas without a loved one and things like that. So we don't want to look over that with the celebration, to remember that there are many who are, grieving during this time of year. So we want to pray for them and encourage them. And if you're watching, that's you. We love you. We're praying for you. If we can help you, don't hesitate to reach out. I know there's people all around you, if you're a part of our church, that would love to be a blessing to you. And we understand that this holidays are they're like emotional magnifiers, right? Anything that we feel in a smaller way, maybe in September, in December, it magnifies it, right? The feelings of loneliness are magnified. The feelings of fear are magnified. The feelings of grief are magnified. The feelings of joy are magnified. It's just kind of that thing. So we'll definitely be praying for those who this year maybe is a little bit more challenging than for others. But for us as a church family, we're looking forward to December. Obviously going to be a different year as well for us as we look towards events and things like that. Normally, we really tried to have an awesome Christmas season. This year, we're having to rein some of that back, which probably is a good thing, right? To be able to make our lives a little bit simpler. Don't forget the couple things we do have on the calendar. A week from Sunday, December 13th, is our kids' Christmas program. There is registration now available for that. We're going to ask you to register for the service you'd like to attend on that Sunday. And right now, there's more people attending the 9:30. So, folks, if you're attending the 9:30 and you don't really have a reason why you have to, maybe to attend the 11 o'clock service on this Sunday would be a generous thing, to be able to give up your spot there at 9:30 for someone else. There's plenty of spots at 11. And so the registration for that we'll put in the comments below to make sure that you guys can click that, get registered for the service that you can attend on that Sunday morning. And both the same exact service, 9:30 and 11. The kids program will be the same, both services. And I want to make sure that we can be able to spread everyone out to be able to enjoy that special day as well. Also, we are looking forward to this Sunday starting our brand new Christmas series, Good News of Great Joy, and looking at the Christmas story from a new perspective there of the gospel and good news from Luke chapter 1. I really think you're going to enjoy it. I've been working on it this week, and I think it's going to be a blessing to be able to jump into some good news, right? That's what we need right now in 2020, is some positive things to celebrate. I mean, Christmas is good news. I want to encourage you, Christian, if you're looking for some ways to keep your focus on what's important this Christmas season, to pick up an Advent devotional. There's a great one out by Paul Tripp that I enjoy. A lot of people are different pastors and things are doing like email or blog devotionals. Maybe I'll post some links if I can think and remember to at the end of this. But take some time each day to remember why we're celebrating, why the hustle, why the bustle, why the enjoyment, and to remember the amazing story of Christmas and the fact of the matter is Jesus was born to die, right? He was born to save our souls. And so this celebration is one that should be especially near and dear to our hearts as Christians. So take 10, 15 minutes a day, read the Christmas story, look through some of these devotionals as they kind of talk through these things as well. And I think it'll be a good way to kind of focus our attention on what is important. So we're going to start a new study tonight, and I think it's going to be helpful to us as we kind of think about this season and the unique challenges sometimes that the holiday season into the new year can bring. And what we're going to do is we're going to call it margin. Okay, margin. How do I build in some margin into my life over December and then even heading into 2021? I think for many of us, 2020 has been the year of margin, right? We've been able to or been forced to take a break from some of these things, to press pause on some things that maybe we would have liked to continue in. For many of you, it's been a year of staying home. For many of you, it's been a year of financial, minimalization, where you're eliminating extra expenses and things like that, and a lot of refocusing our attention on other things. But for many of us, I think 2021, we're praying is a year where some of this stuff comes back. But how do I, build into my life that margin, that intentional breathing room that I need? And maybe for some of us that we've been able to enjoy this year, even though our hand has been forced that direction. How do I keep that in my mind? Then the one I want to start out with tonight is just this understanding. Peace begins the moment you admit your limitations. Peace can begin the moment you admit your limitations. There's not a person watching this tonight that doesn't have some limitations. You have limitations on your energy. We can't keep going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week forever. You've got limits on your energy. You've got limits on your time. You can't say yes to everything. You can't say yes to every opportunity. You can't say yes to every Christmas party, right? You've got limits on your time. You've got limits on your finances. We've got certain things we can afford to do, certain things that we'd have to put ourselves in a difficult financial situation to do. So we've got limits on these things, and we have to build into our lives some intentional margin. That margin is the space between our load and our limits. Okay, it's the space between our load and our limits. So if I've got a workload that is 40 hours a week, and my personal limit is 55 hours a week of what I feel like I could accomplish, and I have that available time, then my margin is those 15 hours, right? So if my load is my mortgage and this is $3,000 a month, and my income is $5,500 a month, then I've got this margin of $2,000, $2,500 to play with. That's the margin, right? It's the amount be allowed beyond what is absolutely necessary. It's something that's held in reserves for contingencies, for unexpected situations. Richard Swanson said that margin is the gap between rest and exhaustion, the space between breathing freely and suffocating. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's ever been in a situation where I feel like we're suffocating from the amount of pressure on us, whether it be time or energy or financially, where we feel like we're the kind of the world, the room's getting smaller, or kind of getting caved in those ways. Margin is what allows us to breathe freely. Margin is what allows us to have the freedom, right, financially, to see someone in need and be able to help them, because I'm not as strapped down myself based on my spending, or it's my margin for my energy, or my time. So when I have a little bit extra time, I can give that to my kids. I can give that to my spouse. Like, I can give that away towards others. I can see an opportunity at church and I can volunteer for that because I have enough margin to do it. I haven't so strapped myself down. And we're going to look at this from the book of Amos, which is a little bit of a different passage, but I think it'll be helpful to us. Amos 1 verse 1 says, "The words of Amos, who is among the herdmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake." Okay, if you bounce ahead to Amos 6, verse 1, Amos says, "Woe to them that are at ease in Zion, and trust in the mountain of Samaria, which are named chief of the nations, to whom the house of Israel came." It says you're at ease there. Okay, I don't know if you've ever been a part of going to the airport on a flight and you realize your flight was overbooked. You guys ever experienced that? Where you go there, you bought a ticket for however much money, you got there, and you realize that they have overbooked the flight. That they had 110 seats, but they sold 150 seats. And I always get so frustrated at that moment. Like, did you not realize the limitations of the plane? I understand the finances behind it and that some people don't come and all these kind of things, but there is a limited number of seats. And you oversold the amount of seats you have. I have to tell you, Christian, or maybe a searcher watching this, you have limitations. Your limitations are real. You're limited in your time. You're limited in time. You only have so much time. Everyone has 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 366 days a year in a leap year. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to try and hold it in. So if I sneeze, I apologize. But if you see me wiggling my nose, you'll know I'm trying to hold it in. But all of us have limitations in our time, right? We have the same amount of limitations. And in those that time, I've got to take care of my family. I've got to give enough time to my wife. I need to give enough time to my kids. I need to give time to serving God. I got to give time to my job. I've got a limited amount of time, and I've got a bunch of things requesting that time. I've got a limited amount of money. I don't know how many you've ever experienced having more month than you have money, right? You got 3 weeks in and you got a week left without any money to go. We've got limitations. Everyone's asking for your your extra finances. You look at this Christmas season, everyone's looking for more, right? Abilities. You can't do everything. You can't. We all have limitations in our abilities. And we're all able to carry different amounts of loads. Some of us were able to carry more in our time, in our schedule. Some of us were able to carry more in our finances and maybe in our talents or our abilities. But we all have limitations. There's always going to be a breaking point. Okay, you look at camels, or for example, camels are able to carry an insane amount of weight. They're really, really strong in the load they're able to carry. But once you get to a maximally loaded down camel and you place a straw on the back, its back will be broken, right? That's the straw that broke the camel's back. The back was never broken by the straw. The back was broken by overload. And sometimes you feel like, why did that break me? Like, why did this small inconvenience just rattle me to that degree? Why did it, so to speak, break my back? Like, this isn't such a big deal. Why was this the moment that I, suffered this breakdown? Why was this the moment that I went through this challenge? And I think for many of us, it's not the straw. It's not that individual moment. It's the overload from everything else in our life leading up to that moment, right? It's the amount of things on our schedule. It's the amount of weights on our back. And then when that one extra little thing, your kid asks you to play, that shouldn't be something that blows us up, right? But because of the amount of weight and load on us, we are overextended. And we feel that weight. In Amos chapter 4, verse 7, he says, I have also withholden the rain from you. When there were yet 3 months to the harvest, I caused it to rain upon one city and caused it not to rain upon another city. One piece was rained on, the other was not rained. So 2 or 3 cities wandered into one city to drink water, but they weren't satisfied. Ye have not returned unto me, saith the Lord. He says, I have smitten you with blasting and mildew, and your gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees increased, yet ye have not returned unto me, saith the Lord. So I have sent among you the pestilence after the manner of Egypt. Your young men have I slain with a sword, and taken away your horses, and I've made the stink of your camps come up into your nostrils. Yet ye have still not returned unto me, saith the Lord. I've overthrown some of you, as God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, and you were as a firebrand plucked of the burning, yet ye have not returned unto me, saith the Lord. Amos is saying, all of these things God's bringing across your path, all the blessings that God gave you, and yet he starts to take them away, and we're still not turning back to him. Why don't we like to admit that we're overextended? Why don't we like to admit that we've gone beyond our ability? We don't like to admit it because that takes humility. It takes humility. Let me tell you this, okay? If you feel like you can't admit that you're overloaded or you're overextended or you're overworked, when you can't accept your limitations, nobody is fooled or impressed but yourself. It's very easy for others to see when we're overextended. It's very easy for our spouses to see when we're overextended. It's very easy for our kids to see when we're overextended. It's very easy for our friends and our extended family to see when we've got too much on our backs, but we try to push through and not accept those limitations. I have to tell you, no one is fooled by that. No one is impressed by that because we're not doing the things that we're doing well. We're stressed, we're filled with anxiety, we're snapping at other people. I can't help but think of a story in Luke chapter 10 where Jesus is coming into a village and his friends are there, Martha and Mary and Lazarus. And in Luke 10, Mary, which sat at Jesus' feet. Martha is serving, running around from place to place, and she comes to the Lord frustrated with her sister. She says, Lord, don't you care that my sister left me alone to cook? Don't you care that my sister left me alone to serve? Tell her she should help me. Bid her that she should help me. And Jesus answered her and said, Martha, Martha, you're careful. In other words, you're filled with anxiety. You're filled with care. You're filled with worries, and you're troubled about a lot of things. But only one thing is needful. And Mary hath chosen the good part, which shall not be taken away from her. There's a few signs that we see here of when you're overextended. Anxiety. How much anxiety are you experiencing? Do you have peace? Jesus shows up to Bethany, and Lazarus and Mary and Martha, and they're getting ready to have dinner. Now, Martha doesn't have to freak out about that. Martha doesn't have to be filled with anxiety about that. Anxiety manifests itself in a lot of different ways. And I think it manifests itself differently in each person. And each person also has a different level of tolerance, right? Where the amount of anxiety or stress that we can hold. And that point where breakdown begins varies from individuals to another individual, okay? But I have not ever met a person who could tolerate overload and ever escalating overload without eventually feeling that weight. And you may be the most productive person on the planet. You may be, able to schedule yourself down to the minute, but eventually you will feel its weight. And if the overloaded person will seek help, I think there's a few different signs they're going to find. The first one I think they're going to find is anxiety. That load is just too much to manage. And we try to tranquilize our feelings with medicinal things or with other things which aren't wrong in of themselves, but when they're just trying to cover up for an overloaded work schedule, they're trying to cover up for an overloaded time, they're trying to cover for an overloaded financial world, you're just numbing things. You're not really fixing the problem. The load is too much. And if the load is not lightened soon, breakdowns is going to happen. When Dr. Robert Banks said, when our bodies and feelings can't cope any longer with the demands put upon them, when that overload becomes too great, our only course of action is to shut everything down. And for many people, nervous breakdowns and stress breakdowns, they're the result of being overloaded, having too much on them. Some of us need to admit that this Christmas I need to take some stuff off my back. Right? I need to relieve myself of some of these constraints. And, there are certain things that I have to do. I need to serve the Lord. I need to serve my church. I need to serve my family and my friends. There are some things I don't have to do. There's some things I don't need to do. And I need to be able to realize in those moments, is this something God is calling me to do, that he's asking me to do? And if it is, then maybe I need to remove some other things from my life to make that a reality. Like maybe God's putting on your heart a burden to serve in a ministry of some kind. Right, where I'm gonna, devote some time to this ministry. I'm gonna serve there. I'm gonna get involved there, and you feel like God is telling you this is what I want you to do, and you're nervous about the amount of extra time that's gonna put in your schedule. Well, if God's calling me to do that, I've got to ask, what is there in my life right now that God is not calling me to? Right, that is maybe more peripheral that I can remove from my schedule. I've got to keep myself in margin even when pursuing new things, right? So one sign is anxiety. Another sign is hostility. Well, look at Martha. Martha actually snaps at the Messiah. Martha snaps at Jesus. When you're overloaded, you become hostile. When you're overloaded, you get a little bit snappier with your wife, with your husband, with your kids. You're a little bit more hostile. We're quick to spout off, or that fuse gets shorter and shorter the more overloaded we are. How patient are you with those around you? How patient are you with your kids? How patient are you with others in church? How patient are you with your spouse? If I'm quickly turning to hostility, if I'm quickly turning to anger, that's a sign that maybe I've got too much on right now. Maybe I'm too overloaded in this. A lot of times you turn on the news and you see how other people have been overloaded and they explode onto others. The nightly news shows all the results. You got road rage that leads to shootings. You've got big cities so focused on rudeness and shortness and abruptness with others because they're so busy, right? We see brawls in sports because of competition overload, which has got too much going. There's hostility there. So anxiety, hostility, then resentment. Her issues with how overloaded she is don't stay with her, Martha's. Her issues don't stay with, oh man, I've got too much going. I'm working too hard. I'm serving too much. No, her issues then shift to Mary, right? It doesn't stop with, I think I'm doing too much. I've got too much on me. No, it's why isn't she helping? It's why isn't she getting involved? Why isn't she serving? this overloaded spirit doesn't stay internally. It then shifts towards resentment towards others. Maybe it's resentment towards your job. And you used to love your job. You used to love your work, but overload turned your work into an enemy. And all of a sudden you resent going to work. You resent clocking in because it's just too much, right? This can happen in a church where we're overextended in some areas. Some folks just have this heart to serve and they want to be involved. They do 35 different things. And eventually, guess what? We get a little frustrated with the guy who comes in and sits in church and doesn't serve in any areas. We're like, well, why doesn't he help in this? Why doesn't she help in nursery? Why does it? If I'm overloaded, that's on me. If I'm overloaded, that's on me. Now, could I have a desire? Man, I wish more people got involved. I wish more people served. That's not a wrong thing. But if I begin to resent them without knowing their story, if I begin to resent them without knowing what's going on in their life, maybe they're so overloaded that getting to church for 1 hour is all that they can do, right? We don't know their story. So don't take your overloaded spirit, your overloaded schedule, your overloaded financial picture, and then shift it into resentment towards others. If you're noticing that, you need to turn the microscope around and realize, man, I've got too much stuff on me. There's some things that I need to minimize. I want to encourage you, though. A lot of times we teach through this, we understand this. The first things that we begin to rule out become things of God. Like, well, I can't do this anymore, and I can't serve in this way. I'm not saying that there's not some of us that maybe need to cut back on some of those things, but the large majority of us, the things consuming our time and our finances and our energy usually aren't, the things of ministry. I'm usually not, I'm spending too much time out on the homeless shelter. I'm doing too much here. Usually it's things about my own life. It's usually things about my own good. Martha here is, kind of trying to serve Jesus, but at the same time, she's trying to be impressive towards others by having this meal prepared and in hospitality. Understand, I don't want to always resort to, I'm overloaded, so I can't, do this anymore. I'm overloaded, so I can't serve in this way. I'm overloaded, so I can't give in this way. Usually, if I'm honest, I have a lot of stuff that I can cut out that is really just about me. But resentment is a really good clue towards I'm overloaded. Then depression. Okay, depression. Some personality types are more easily brought down this direction when they're overloaded. Some feel a hostile outward, like they begin to explode into others. For others, that overloadedness doesn't extend towards hostility towards others. It begins with us becoming more hostility towards ourselves. That hostility, that anger is not directed at my spouse, it's directed at myself. And I feel like I've failed my own expectations. I thought I could do this. I thought I could prepare this meal for Jesus. I thought I could be this hospitable person. I thought I could serve in these areas. And we have these expectations of ourselves that sometimes we let ourselves down and we feel like we've let others down. So we kind of withdraw into this fog of gloom, right? Martha here shows what it looks like to be overextended. So what's the answer? So Andrew showed that we got all this load on us. So what do I need to do? I don't think it's so much what you need to do, but who you need to go to. In Amos 5, Amos says, "Seek the Lord and ye shall live, lest ye break out fire in the house of Joseph and devour it." When we admit our own limitations, saying I can't do everything, I can't buy everything, I can't be everything for everyone, I'm not Superman. When we admit those limitations, we are forced then to search for someone or something without those limitations. When we admit our brokenness and our weakness, we're forced to search for someone who's greater than us, greater than ourselves. I love Psalm 147, verse 5. Great is our Lord of great power. His understanding is infinite. Infinite. So in those moments where we feel like we're overloaded, and there's so many different kinds of overload. There's activity overload where it booked up weeks in advance. We're too busy. And in an attempt to squeeze more things in, we try to do 2 or 3 things at the same time. We're trying to be with our kids and check email and do this work. And it takes away the joy from our lives to be so filled with schedule. You know what I think activity overload does? It removes the pleasure of anticipation and the delight of remembering. Because we're not allowed to look forward to anything or look back on anything because we're so focused on what we're doing right now. We're too busy. I can't look forward to that vacation. I can't look back on the good memories of yesterday. Why? Because I've got to do something actively today. You need to remove some of your schedule so you can look forward to something. So you can look backwards at something. There's change overload. That stuff's just changing every single week. And I feel like 2020, this has been one of our challenges, is the rules are changing every day. Right? Every single day, the rules are changing. And it speeds up. And some of us, we get overloaded with that. Some of us, it's choice overload. That I just have to make 14,000 choices. In 1980, there were 12,000 items in an average supermarket. Today, there are over 30,000 options in a supermarket, including 186 different choices of breakfast cereal. You get cable TV or a satellite dish and choose from 1,200 movies every month. And as those number of choices go further, we become overloaded. There's a sociology professor that said the negatives escalate until we become overloaded. At this point, choice no longer liberates us, but debilitates us. Choices. Commitment overload, debt overload, decision overload, expectation overload, fatigue overload, hurry overload. There are so many different ways that we can be overloaded. And you know what each of those things do, or they should do for the heart of a Christian? It should push you towards the one who can never be overloaded. It should push you towards the one who has no limitations. So I don't have enough money. There's a God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. There's the God who can provide for all of your needs. I don't have enough time. There's a God who's not limited by time or space. Run to him. Seek his face and watch as he guides you and directs you with what is essential, what is most important, and what are things that maybe we need to remove from our backs. Because you can't do everything. You can't be everything for everyone. And my hope is that this Christmas season and starting into 2021, we run to the God who has no limitations. And we let him set our schedule. We let him set our energy levels. We let him set our financial picture. And we trust him. And when there's moments where I feel like I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that, but I just don't have enough time. I'm just too strapped down. Then we run to the God who has no limitations and we trust in him. Like, God, I don't think I can help in this way. I don't think I can give in this way. I don't think I can serve in this way. I don't think I can give of myself in this area. I don't think I can continue. We give it to him. When we see our limitations, we're forced to search for one who has none. And in those moments, I feel like God can strip everything down. He can strip away our schedule. He can strip away our ledger, our financial picture, and he can just reveal to us that which is most important. So my hope is that in week 1, we admit our limitations. And throughout this month, we'll talk about how to add things back in, okay? And how to schedule ourselves, how to plan things out from a biblical perspective. But I want to start with this understanding. You are not a superhero. You cannot do everything. We cannot serve in every area. We cannot do all of these things for every person. Our job is to be a committed follower of Christ. Our job is to serve our families. Our job is to manage ourselves, to having those spaces of margin, the space between my load and my limits. And my hope this year is that we remove some of that load. We strip away some of the non-essential things of our life, so we can focus more on that which is most important. So we can feel that freedom, that weight, that breathability of having the margin built into our lives. Would you ever word of prayer with me? Lord, we love you. We thank you for the opportunity to give us a study just for a few minutes of the story of Martha and Mary and the challenge from Amos. Lord, I just pray you to help us to see, Lord, in our own lives where we're overextended, where we're overloaded. I pray you'd help us to see that which we should focus our attention on, and maybe the areas of our life that we need to strip away, and the areas that we need to quiet so that we can focus our hearts more on the areas you've called us to. We love you, and we pray that our hearts will be focused primarily on our relationship with you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let's continue to pray for those in our church family. Continue to pray for Roxanne as she's continuing to battle her COVID. We're going to continue to pray for Sue Scoville as she's at home as well now, but we'll continue to pray for her. I want to pray for those in our church family who are losing family members right now. Peggy Richnavsky has a younger sister who's in the final stages of a cancer battle. So I want to pray for Peggy and Ron and their family. We just want to be intentionally, aware of those who are going through challenge. Think of Jen Bailey with her mom and the challenges there, that we continue to pray for her and her health battle, as well as for Jen as she navigates how to best care for her, and just a lot of weighty situations in our lives right now. So we're going to be praying for each other. If you have a prayer request that I forgot to mention tonight, please throw in the comments below. We'll be more than happy to pray about that. Please register for the kids program, which is a week from Sunday, so December 13th. And don't miss this Sunday, good news of great joy and more Christmas music, just a good celebration of a time together as we gather back together 9:30 and 11 this Sunday morning. God bless, guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will see you back, hopefully, Sunday morning. Also, Saturday work day, if you'd like to be out and help. A lot of progress being made on the kids space. Saturday morning at 10 a.m. if you'd like to be there for that. God bless, guys. We'll see you soon.